brother-in-law was over when the storm was coming. He's like, man, these kids for football, they get, if it's 100 degrees, they don't get to practice. And he's like, when we were playing, you see lightning's for pussies.
Yeah. Fucking go grab a metal pole.
Yeah.
Well, there's one on each end. Stand in between it.
Grab a metal pole and put a piece of wood between your teeth.
Well, it's good to see you guys.
Good to be seen.
Cool. Buyers. Were you? They were back in town? Did they get their house? It's open on 60 days. Works.
Welcome to West USA Weekly, the podcast.
Don't talk now.
Your go-to source
Yeah,
for
did
everything
you
real
hear?
estate.
We're not supposed to be
in
talking right
Arizona.
now. Don't talk.
We're breaking
Everybody
down
can hear
market
us.
trends, local insights, and the moves that matter most to Valley agents. Interviews, tips, and the latest from one of Arizona's top brokerages, all in one place. Let's dive in.
Good morning, West USA. Welcome to another edition of our Monday morning podcast. Just our condolences go out to those of you who live in Goodyear. Apparently, Goodyear just got washed away off the face of the map last night. Yes, just bye-bye. See ya.
See ya.
All right. Avondale Oceanfront Property. Congratulations. Who would have thought those property values would have skyrocketed within 12 hours? All right, little sneak peek of what we got coming up today. Of course, we got Todd here to give us a look at the numbers. Justin Frederick here with the Frederick team to give us our mortgage minute. We're going to do a little 3-pack on tips to sending out-of-state referrals. Nice. And what's up, Buttercup, with our favorite broker today, Kyle. So with that being said, if you have any issues with Kyle being the favorite broker, go ahead and email us at podcast@westusa.com. All right, just a couple announcements. This Thursday, huge success, Justin, last month. In Surprise, big turnout for our class, our panel on flipping homes, and the focus really has just been helping agents understand how to build wealth themselves. So we're doing it again coming up this Thursday at the Chandler office.
Yeah, and I feel like if you have any questions about flipping a home, the questions are going to be answered there. It's a pretty good panel.
And it gives you great information to be able to have a conversation with your client as well.
Yeah, that as well. So there's the QR code. Of course, it's on the calendar. Just go to westusacalendar.com. All right, we got a lunch and learn on AI, 12 ways to use AI in real estate today. Later on this morning, everybody's going to see how Kyle and I leverage AI to put together a podcast. So, so the lunch and learn this Tuesday, August 11th at the Ahwatukee office. So, yeah, great way to and just remember that text I sent you the other
I do,
day? Yeah,
I do.
I don't mention it right now.
Let's go to the next slide.
Okay. All right. And then burgers, Nick.
Yeah, at the bar this Friday, August 14th, 11:30 to 12:30. We've got a burger special for everybody. We're bringing it back. The Boys Burger Club, every single month, we are going to be partnering with a restaurant. And then down the road, we'll start bringing back the philanthropic side of it. But come on down, get a burger, fries, and a drink for $18 at the bar at 5504 North 7th Avenue.
I'll be there this afternoon at noon, just trying it.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
You should pre-try a burger.
Wagyu burger.
Who doesn't like
Yeah.
a good burger?
Sounds like a great burger.
All right, Todd. Good luck with this transition now.
Exactly. How do I wrap everybody back into it? All right, everyone. Well, thanks for joining me today. Today we're going over the. No, we're not. I'm going to cough first. Excuse me. Today we're going to go over the Greater Phoenix Metropolitan Market statistics for the week ending August 10th. Let's see what we've got. 83 days closed on market this past week, a 6.25 month supply. Absorption rate was at 16.01. Average list price this past week, $699,800. Average sale price this past week, $607,197. And our list price to sale price retention came in at 97.20. Active inventory, about the same within 9 units, 24,253. Pending is sitting at 3,577, and closed units for the month of August, 1,127. Looking at new listings taken this past week, only 1,786 listings were taken, well below our desired norm. Days on market for active is sitting at 92 and for closed at 83. Looking at the price ranges down the lower left-hand side, this is active inventory. I should also use this moment to indicate that later today, look on your closed Facebook groups. You'll see the month-end report. That'll be coming out. And again, when you get to this slide on that report, this will be the closed production numbers by price range. But this is nice because it does let you see exactly what portions of the market did ebb and flow. Obviously, with the red is the contraction. Looking at 600,000 and up, it represents 68.65% of the entire MLS. 600,000 to a million is at 19.29, and $1 million and up is 12.06. So looking at the spreadsheet, we have 1,786 new listings taken this past week, 1,770. Look to the right a little more. This is where you get a chance to see last year, same week, 1,844. So we just fell a little bit behind. We've been doing really good in these numbers in comparison to last year. So a little bit of a dip we can handle. Hopefully it just won't continue. Looking at active inventory, we're at 24,253. Again, almost identical as it was last week. A couple of ebbs and flows in some of the other underlying portions of the market. Coming soon ebbed up just a little bit. Single family detached, again, 5 units, or 4 units. We look at new home construction, took the hit. New non-distressed properties at 23,679. And again, looking at this versus last year, we were at 24,000 properties available. So we're about 300 or 400 below unit count where we would like to be. Pending we use as the sample of who's in the marketplace. Are there buyers in the marketplace? And we have point counterpoint on this, because I was just talking to Justin with the Justin Fredericks group over at Fairway to my right. And, he was indicating that, it seemed a little slow. And then Mike and I were kind of like, well, the numbers were up for last week. So again, this is just one of those things. He's dealing with applications mostly and closings. And we're dealing with getting people that are excited and getting them out in the car, showing them homes, keeping that excitement so they actually perform and do and obtain all those prior to doc conditions so you can actually close the property. But 3,577, that was up about 60 people versus the week before. We were at 3,700 people in the marketplace last week. And again, if you slide your eyes over the blue just for a moment, because the numbers on the left, we're always seeing 3,500, rarely do we get into the 5s. But you look over on the right-hand side and MLS's reported numbers, 4,787 is the numbers we're picking up for the end of the month in MLS. Last year, we were at 6,100. So the overall consensus is, we're still probably 1,000, maybe 1,400 fewer people in the marketplace at any one time, even though you see the reds and the greens on the left-hand part of this spreadsheet. If you're looking at it year over year, there are significantly fewer buyers in the marketplace than there were last year. Looking at close, we're sitting at 1127. This really doesn't have any effect on what's going on. It's way too early. Today's the 8th. We're going to be looking at our month-end numbers this afternoon, and that's really where these numbers are going to shine. Median sale price still in that 450 range. I mean, again, if you run your eyes to the right in the first blue column, but look at the second number, 449.9 last year, 2 years ago in June, or last year in June, you'll see that that was 450,000.
Did you just blow by the month supply number? Just we weren't going to stop and talk about that for a second?
Because it's 8 days into the marketplace.
Doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't.
Not for me.
Well, not for your and my debate going on. And for that particular
ongoing debate.
For that particular purpose, Mike, I'm very excited about the fact that you recognize that.
I bet I pay attention.
Yeah, that you're paying attention at all. That's good. So 454,500 is where we're at. And that's a good thing because, again, prices are no longer really falling. What's happening is, if you're a good negotiator, sure, you're going to, to Mike's point, you can negotiate a reasonably good price if the home has been on the market for a while. If it isn't, then you know the story. I don't have to educate you on that. But inventory-wise, statistical-wise, we're in a relatively calm and stable marketplace. The numbers aren't really going on.
That's exactly what people ask me. I'm just saying we're just there, stable. It's not necessarily going up. It's not necessarily going down. It's just stable.
Yeah, and if somebody
consistent,
and if somebody has to sell because of a life event, they're probably more likely to give a discount on their price. So sometimes if you can ask the listing agent, they don't have to tell you because it's actually confidential information. But a lot of times they will by mistake. They'll just say, "Oh, they're relocating because of something." Why are they selling? And then the last number for today is the list price to sale price retention. And you can also see when this number drops a little bit, what that's basically saying is sellers were giving up a little more off the list price this past week. Now, that doesn't mean you go into every single property going less, because that we still don't know if there were concessions attached to whatever did close last week. So that's kind of the thing that why we really wait until the end of the month numbers, which you'll get later today. So please look for that on your close Facebook groups, and we'll give you a lot more detail and a lot more narrative on what the market's actually doing for last month.
All right, good stuff. Appreciate it. All right,
Thanks,
Justin, what's going on in your world?
All right, guys. Well, we did see rates increase again last week.
Perfect.
However, there was a couple
above 7.
No.
Okay.
No. We got pretty close earlier in the week, but things kind of settled down at the end of the week. But Friday was a rough one too. So let's just hope things change over there in Iran and we get oil under control. All right, so today we're bringing over the Hoper program. We're talking about the Hoper program. This is a solar program that you can put on a home. I'm going to say this to begin with. This requires a very specific type of borrower. But right now, excuse me, we have a lot of people looking for down payment assistance. A lot of these down payment assistance programs are coming with much higher interest rates than market rates. And we already feel the buyer's stress of these rates that have gone up in the past, 4-5 months. And so they're looking for something more affordable. And the Hoper program is a great program because it allows us to use actual market rates and put a solar system on the house, all combined within one loan. So you don't have a first and a second like you do with a lot of these down payment assistance programs. You have one single loan. Now, yes, there is the chance that you're going to be upside down. Most likely you're going to be upside down in the house because you have that solar unit attached to the house. But a lot of people get these own solar units. They're upside down on their house anyways. This allows it to be in the first mortgage. And the beauty of it being in an FHA first mortgage is you can streamline the loan and you can still refinance if rates drop down. You cannot do that on a lot of other programs. So give your FHA buyer up to $16,000 at closing with the Hoper. It's a revolutionary program leveraged to clean energy and financial education to help your buyers get into homes and stay in them. What the buyer commits to: 14 hours of financial training. So it's 6 hours pre-close training, costs $149, and there's 8 hours post-close at $99. So with this program, they're actually getting paid to do this program. It is not a grant. They're getting this money in the form of a 1099. So they're doing this education to do this research program. Actually, a portion of this is for research. So what they're trying to do is build assets on first-time home buyers. Typically, this isn't a program that's going to be for a first-time home buyer. I would say this is more for somebody downsizing in their home and looking to stay in the home for quite some time. Include a reduced cost of solar system into their FHA mortgage, so it is all into one. What the buyer unlocks, 3.5% of the purchase price up to $16,000 paid as earned income. Like I said, 1099 income, ongoing energy savings with a fully owned solar system, and zero increase to their base FHA interest rate. So the interest rate's what the interest rate is.
So earned income, just so that everybody, I mean, I think everybody knows, but just to, kind of double back on this, this is actually like a bonus paid from your company in a way, because that's a 1099 income bonus. And so if you think about it, that's really, look at it from that perspective, not just that they're just willing to finance $16,000 on top of your original loan,
Right. No, it's not that money's not added to it. The solar system's added to it.
Right.
And that money comes from the Hoper program itself. So they'll send those funds directly to closing. But the beauty of that up to $16,000 is we can also pay off debt with that money.
So this is getting wrapped up into the loan. There's no prepayment penalty.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
What about if I want to go buy a home that has solar on it?
No, that doesn't work.
Okay.
You have to add solar. You can actually use this for refinances as well. So one of the things that we've seen that buyers are liking this program for is if they got into one of those Home in 5 programs, Home Plus programs, where they have that second mortgage and they haven't been able to refinance it.
Nice.
They can do it with this program. So they'll consolidate it into one, put the solar on the house, let them get into the lower interest rate, and do this.
And don't move for 35 years.
Probably like 5 to 10 years, right? How it saves your deals, closing costs and fees because of the compensation is processed as earned income. Buyers can legally utilize the cash against any element of the closing as they see fit. So here's just an example. Standard FHA, $400,000, monthly payment $2,000 a month, monthly power bill $300 a month, total expenses $2,300. Over the right with the Hoper program, the $40,000 solar system is included in the first mortgage. Monthly mortgage payment $2,200, monthly power bill goes down to $100, and then you can see the total expenses on the mortgage is $2,300. The cash to the buyer at closing was $13,000. So it was able to cover their down payment and keep their monthly expenses in line. The problem with that is that we really don't see what that's going to look like after the fact. But step one, qualify for the home. We'll set you up with the Hoper program to make a connection. They'll start talking to you about it, go through the ins and outs of the solar systems and what that looks like. The Hoper will enroll you in the program and set you up for the classes, and then we'll move on to closing.
Does the program help people decide which solar company is legitimate?
They don't even get to choose. It's through the Hoper program itself.
So the contractor's already decided.
It's already decided.
That was kind of my
decided and approved.
Okay, good.
Now, I will tell you, we are going through another, basically a sister company of Hoper right now. We're working on getting them approved. It's called Arcasa. They're offering a little bit more money, but we're looking into the differences. We have Hoper approved. We've been working with Hoper for about 6 months now. We've had quite a bit of closings. It's worked out really well for the people that like it. So we will be bringing this Arcasa soon.
Nice.
All right. Appreciate it. Yeah. Good stuff, Justin. Yeah. So at the end of the day, if we got a FHA buyer wanting solar, this is a good option.
Yep.
All righty. So moving right along, we all find ourselves in situations where we need to send somebody out of state, and we're looking for an agent out of state to build that out of state referral. And there's really, for a lot of agents, there's not a lot of systems behind it. And so I want to talk about putting systems behind it and my process when I have a seller here in Arizona or somebody here in Arizona saying, I am moving to another part of the country. And what do I do? And what does that process look like? And the first step for me is I talk to Justin.
Absolutely.
Totally. You would be amazed on how many states your favorite lender is licensed out of. And so there's one thing, I can send it to an agent. Let's say I send it to an agent in Little Rock, Arkansas, and then that agent in Little Rock, Arkansas introduces them to their lender. I'm out of the loop, 100% out of the loop. They are now not only working with an agent that I don't know and trust, they're also working with a lender that I don't know, and we haven't established trust. So for me, when I start the process with the lender, this allows me to stay involved in the conversation. I'm going to have, Justin's going to keep me updated in the process. If there's any challenges that's going on, or the agent doesn't communicate with me clearly when the close of escrow is, I've got Justin and his team, or you have your lender and your team on top of it. And again, you'll know if any issues arise.
Yeah, this is when we do our weekly Wednesday free remote CE classes. We're always talking about this when we're introducing the sponsors, because Justin happens to be one of the sponsors for that. And the primal thing here is there are multiple advantages. If you don't know who the lender is, or they're dealing with a big box bank or whatever it might be when they get to wherever they're going on their new property, you're totally out of control. I mean, and from my perspective, the broker aspect of it is, why are you referring people to anybody if you don't know if that person's capable or has the caliber to properly service your client? You're just trying to tag on to some extra money. I'm going to get 30% or whatever but the thing is that you want to make sure that you have a reason for referring your client, this person, to a specific person in another state. And we don't do business there. Who are we going to rely on? Just because they do a lot of business doesn't mean they're the right agent. Justin is in, I believe, 22 states. And so that's almost half of the country. So I highly and always recommend that if you do have a referral, I don't care where it is, you refer it to, call Justin, see if he has a professional in that marketplace.
Yeah. Nick, and whoever your lender is, and them, their systems, their processes, and it's just going to get treated the same as if somebody was buying something here in Phoenix.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to the conversation we have a lot, leveraging the people that you already are working with here, trusting those preferred partners that are working with you and around you, have insight, not just when you are in a transaction with them. You should be communicating with them on a regular basis. They are, as we call them, your cabinet. You should be meeting with your cabinet once a week and have conversations, check in. So this should be an easy conversation to have. And if you're not doing that, let's maybe investigate who you're working with.
It's funny. And most everybody's lender. If your lender's not doing this, then I don't know. You might want to have a talk with them. But, you should be getting weekly updates when you have a buyer going. And now it's no different when I've sent a referral out of state. I'm getting those weekly updates. And then I'd also start with them and say, hey, do you have an agent that you recommend out there? But then once you find that agent, we sometimes, it's so easy to lose focus of those that we refer out, especially if we do not introduce them to our lender. If we just say, hey, let's just say, I don't know all the states that Justin's licensed at, but let's say he's not licensed in New Hampshire, and I find an agent out there and I send him to New Hampshire. With how busy we are, it is so easy to just lose sight of that deal and not give that proper attention. So I say, you develop your cadence, and you're going to leverage your CRM by doing this, but determine how often you're going to check in with your clients. Like right now, I have a client, he's living in Alabama, moving to South Carolina, and Justin's doing the mortgage. Okay, that's pretty convoluted, and so now I know I set up my CRM. I'm always checking with my client every so often, whatever that cadence is.
Mhm.
How are things going? How's the process going? And I'm also checking in with that agent. I've interviewed that agent. I've spent time on the phone with this agent to make sure that that agent is the right agent for my clients. And how often am I checking with that agent?
That is so true. I'm glad you brought that up. We had some friends of ours move to East Cobb, in Georgia, and we didn't know anybody there, so we happened to reach out to another friend of mine who owns a real estate office in that area, and he picked an agent for us. And I told the agent, I'm going to be checking in with you. I want to make sure that the client that I'm giving you is living up to what they said. But of course, I'm contacting my client, the person that we referred, and I'm always checking with them. I'm saying the same identical thing. I'm referring to you, and I'm going to stay in communication with you throughout this process because I want to make sure you're being well taken care of. So if the agent doesn't want, I'm not getting in their deal. So that's a big thing. You don't want to get in their deal, but all you want to do is just make sure there's timely communication. They're getting their needs met. The information they're getting is relevant to their purchase. And if you just go down that road, it shows you continue to care. So here's the point, Mike. They sold their house 4 years later, didn't even call me until they wanted a new referral.
Mm-hmm.
And they called me to say, oh, hey, by the way, we're moving to Virginia. Who do you know there?
Exactly. And that's exactly
like, what?
You want them to, yeah. And, because customer service just permeates and once you stop providing customer service, Nick, you stop getting business.
100%. And I mean, they're just because you're referring them out and they're working out of the area, it's not out of sight, out of mind. You want to make sure that you have that set up through your CRM. You also want to make sure that you're cognizant your CRM is set up, because if that referrer sends you a text and then the next hour you had your scheduled, hey, just checking in, that's going to look a little silly, but you definitely should have something running and don't let them forget your name.
All right. And then I'd also say, Todd, to that point is when you have that kind of constant communication with another agent from another state, when they have somebody that's moving to Phoenix, you're top of mind. They're going to be like, okay, this agent knows how to communicate. But I'd also say, start with your broker. Your brokers, we got one in the house, so earmuffs. I don't want him to get a big head.
Yeah. Speaking of broker, you should call Claudia for sure.
Yeah. But your brokers know they're networked across the nation. They know a lot of quality agents from around the country. So if you're sending somebody to a different part of the country and you don't know anyone, talk to your brokers or talk to a top producer. Top producers have already established a lot of relationships with agents from around the country. Find an agent that specializes, or find an agent in your office or around the valley that specializes in relocation, that works with relocation companies. They know agents. And for me, my preference is I look for teams. Ryan and I, we've partnered with about 34 teams from around the country. Because if Kyle, and we hope he moves to Arkansas, but if he does move to Arkansas, I can call that team leader and say, this is what my clients like. This is the area that they're looking for, and let that team leader determine who is that best agent on their team to work with Kyle. And if something goes awry, I can go to the team leader and then, of course, interview that agent.
It might have been a long time ago, but a long time ago, I built a team, and it was one of the largest teams, most successful production teams in the country. And part of the network was that, you have two choices. You can go align yourself with a brokerage that has a national presence, but you still don't know anybody anywhere, and you're still taking it on a maybe that the person that is being referred to your client is going to be capable of doing what it is that they're asking. But on the other hand, you could build your business and have absolutely every single agent in the entire country at your disposal. And it would be better to do that because even some brokerages don't operate in certain areas. So I always have said, that the brokerages don't matter. It's always been you and your business. I mean, other than support, broker contact,
contrary to
but,
popular belief.
Yeah. Huh? But I'm just saying, as far as your networking and your national networking, and if you're that committed to it, go to the NAR convention and start meeting and mingling.
You were going so strong.
Did you want me to stop earlier?
That sounds like a terrible Saturday night.
No, it's actually kind of fun.
Yeah, you'd be surprised.
Thanks for the backup, Kyle. Appreciate it.
See Kyle partying it up at the NAR convention.
It's,
Hey,
I would go with Kyle
please,
all
Beth.
day long.
yeah, those major company happy hours aren't for no reason.
All right, Clint, would you
That's right.
send Kyle and I, please, to the next one? I'll represent West USA.
Very well, I'm sure.
So I want to hit on this point because you guys touched on it, but I don't think it was focused on enough. So what you and Ryan did is you were proactive because you're running a business. You guys made intentional activity, calls, conversation, reach out to top teams across the country. So you had the referrals set up in advance. You as a licensee should be doing the same thing. You should not be reacting to this. You should be looking at the Arizona marketplace. Where are people coming from the country moving into Arizona? That's a national stat that gets posted all the time. Arizona is an incredible transient state. We know this. It always has been. Where are the people moving from? You should be then reaching out directly to those agents in those marketplaces, building that referral so that you are the agent they are going to call when someone wants to come to Arizona, and then you can reciprocate that pass across.
Love it.
All right, well, that's our 3-pack on sending referrals out of state. But yeah,
You know, just one last piece on this. To Nick's point, actually, both of your points. Arizona is one of the most desired retirement states in the country. Sure, there's other markets as well. And there's normal migrations, like maybe from people from Boston have a typical to go to Florida versus to come to Arizona. It doesn't matter. The point that I'm trying to make is you don't have to oversell this because you're in one of those resort markets. It's easier for you than if you were, out in the middle of some particular area that isn't one and you were trying to accomplish the same thing. So think about that. This isn't a big task, but it is something that you'd have to focus on.
all right, appreciate it, guys. All right, Kyle, got a question for you. What up, Buttercup?
Not a whole lot. Getting back into things.
I like the flower on your
I do
forehead
appreciate
there.
the flower.
But I
on my
don't see any
forehead.
yellow on your chin or nose. That's,
Right.
okay.
Claudia did say she would take all the calls, just FYI. So she's
She
in the
did.
chat right now.
Solid.
So,
Yeah,
Thanks, Claudia.
and then
Appreciate
she can
you.
take all the calls while you and I are at the NAR
That's
convention.
right. Absolutely.
There you go. Exactly.
What would we do?
Yeah, I have no idea.
All righty, Kyle. Well, we appreciate you joining us.
Happy to be
and
here.
I do want to just say, for the record, we had someone scheduled to join
Sure.
us this morning. They bailed the last second, and so you willingly stepped in at the last
do my
minute. So
best.
we
I don't
wanted
know.
to say thank you for that.
Willingly was the
I try to be a team player.
Try.
It's a daily struggle, Nick, but I'm working.
Take
on
the
it,
punishment
okay?
with the wins.
That's
right?
right.
All righty. So I came up with a list of situations here, and I feel like I was going through these. These are kind of like real life situations,
I thought the same thing.
and wanted to get your thoughts. And so we're just gonna start going down the list here. So
Sure.
so the first one, I am representing the buyer, or you, the agent, is representing the buyer. The inspection comes back ugly, which we've seen this. And then the buyer says, just tell me what you think I should ask for. We see this all the time. We get asked this all the time. How do we handle it? What's that balance of making decisions for the buyer, instructing on what you think that they should do? How do we go about that without putting ourselves in? And then what is the risk associated if we cross that line?
We all
Wow,
know that our
that's a
clients,
pretty good
that's geez, so there's a little bit to unpack there.
Yeah.
We all understand that our clients expect us to answer all things, to be all things, because we're the ones in front of them, and that's just the way this business is, and that's okay. But we also as agents have to be understanding that there's a big difference between advising and deciding. Like we can advise, and we should be advising all day long. And if they say, "What would you do?" My answer is kind of like, it doesn't matter what I would do. Here are your options. Here are the things that I see here, but you make the ultimate choice. We can ask for as much as you want or as little as you want. Here is the potential impact of asking for the whole inspection report to be repaired. Although ask for whatever you want, right? Like when it comes to the Binzer process, people get so fired up. You hear agents say all the time, like, oh, this person clearly doesn't have control of their client. It's like, that is crazy to me. You know what I mean? Like the client is the client is the
Recently, I
decider.
had a client I had no control
Sure,
of.
and well, yeah,
It's like it was.
That happens.
And what I take from that is that the client's just not taking advice potentially. But at the end of the day, like this isn't it's not an affront to you. It's just they get to ask for what they want. You receive it. You get to respond what you want. No big deal either way.
So I like looking at it as though you are there helping them decide to help them determine what it is. Again, we're going to anticipate that you guys have already walked them through the inspection process. You told them what to anticipate. You told them, the fact that it's the seller has really no warranty other than to give you the property in the same condition as of the date of the contract, unless something breaks in between, of course. But those are the types of things. So if we've had some of those conversations, it does help minimize the backside
100%.
issue. But on that same token, because this is, to Mike's point, this is what really happens out there in the real world. And when Lynn has come up to me and asked me the same type of questions, what should I say? I always say to people to say, well, you know what? It's
check ARS statute
No.
107.4.
No. I can't do that. I can't do that with Lynn. She'll walk out. So, but the thing is that, there you go. But the thing is just simple. Let me just kind of turn this around and ask you a couple of questions to see if we can identify this. What are the things that, is there anything on here that would be a deal breaker for you? What are the things that are most important? Did you get a chance to do all your, inspect? And it's kind of like a recap.
Sure.
But specifically, what should I do comes out of the conversation of these really don't matter to me. And so as a particular, should I ask for money? Should I not ask for money? Should I get them repaired? Should I not? But remember, if you got a good price up front, you already know that where your position is in the deal. And I would say, don't use them as leverage unless you need to use them as leverage. Sure. Otherwise,
But, well, let me ask you this, Kyle. You said something interesting. So, as an agent, can I say to the buyer, if this was my situation and I was buying this house, this is what I would like.
Can you? Do. Yes, I try. But I try to.
I do it all the time.
I'm going to be that's okay. There's nothing wrong, because that part of that is there is advice within those nuggets of information that you're giving, but also I don't necessarily want them. They are not you. Like their needs and things they care about may not be what you care about. To me, it's just. Put it out there, whatever you want to ask for, but also to Todd's point, like setting expectations early in a transaction, just about the processes and things we're going to be seeing. I often say to agents, think about you receiving this. So you're selling your home and a buyer sends you a 2-page Binzer. What are your thoughts? How do you feel about that? Because that, emotions are a real thing within a transaction, and it's you sometimes have to think about how something's going to be received before you put pen to paper.
I would just like to quickly give a call back to my long book review from last week. This is a fantastic thing that you would learn how to navigate through by reading Never Split the Difference, and having a better idea and understanding of having harder conversations, being able to ask the right questions, mirror the individual, let them feel heard, but also then letting them walk through this path on their own by you asking the right questions at the right time.
Good stuff.
All right, shameless plug.
I'm going to go back over here now.
Go listen to last week's episode.
Nick should write a book.
He should.
No fun, Nick.
Yeah, no fun, Nick. All right. This next one's one of my favorites because
you're going to answer.
One of my pet peeves is when an agent tells me, "Well, that's not fair to other agents." I don't give a rat's about other agents' feelings. At the end of the day, my fiduciary responsibility is to my buyer.
Yep.
Your fiduciary responsibility is to your seller. And when the roles are reversed, my fiduciary responsibilities to my seller.
Yep.
My job is to get the most amount of money and the best deal possible for
But
them.
what's going to get it done, Mike?
So here's the situation. Well, do you want to know, or do you want to know?
Sounded like it was a setup.
So you get multiple offers on your listing. And one buyer's agent calls asking, just tell me what number gets this done. And I've often been that buyer's agent, and the agent will say, well, just submit your highest and best, because that's not fair to other agents. And my response is, well, what's best for your seller. I have a conversation with my sellers, and we put it in writing that if they want me to, I am willing to disclose all terms of every other offer that we're sitting on and let them know. And just because the new offer coming in's higher doesn't necessarily mean it's best.
Correct.
But I don't care about your feelings. I care about my seller's feelings, and I care about their bottom line.
100%. I don't know that there's much that I can add to that. I
was
saw
good.
that
That was
question and I
great.
knew that you would be the answerer of this question because you deal with this stuff. You know what I mean? I agree with you wholeheartedly. There is very rarely a situation where you should be giving what will make or what will get this done. Why would you?
Yeah. And I think the thing is just make sure that you give the same cadence, the same process, the same procedure to every single
each
offer.
and every.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Like one can never be a better, really treated differently than any of the other ones.
Yeah,
Sure.
Yeah. Agreed. But yeah, you said it well and answered it.
I think you did.
All right. Appreciate it. Thank you.
I think you put that one in
All
there
right.
for
Yeah.
you.
We're getting any messages about how evil and mean I am? Oh, thank you.
I'm blocking those.
All right, I'd rather have the. All right, we kind of well, I'm not gonna say we kind of touched on this
Last week.
we talked on this, and your seller tells you not to disclose something. So you're the agent, you're aware of something, and the seller says, "Don't disclose it," or "I'm not disclosing it because it's never been a problem for us." Okay, here would be an example. My house. I got a basement home. So when you're on the street level and you walk in the front door, and you look all the way to the top, it's kind of like an A-frame. You can tell at some point something happened to the ceiling because there's just bubbles. I mean, it would look like like a water bubble, water leaking, so forth.
Yep.
It's never grown, it's never shrunk. We've never done anything about it. We've been in the home for 8 years. I've got no clue
what originated that issue.
What originated it, even if it is an issue.
That's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that is fair.
Well, I mean, I came in here prepared to say that don't disclose something is just a absolute non-starter. I think Claudia did a good job of covering that last week and going through it. It is simply not something that we can entertain as agents when clients are saying, I don't want to disclose something. The old adage that we all learn, when in doubt, disclose, that serves its purpose well. To your point, clients, sellers specifically want to not disclose because they feel like the negative impact on, desirability of their property is going to be sufficient enough that they don't want to put out something that's going to make buyers turn away. But to me, the counterpoint to that is it protects you. Once you're done, you're done. You sell there is a buyer out there that will not care too much about whatever it may be, depending on the severity of an issue, of course. But in a vast majority of cases, you put it all out there on the spuds. It's not going to turn every single buyer away. And if you give them everything, they don't get to come back in 2 years and say you didn't disclose and pull you into a lawsuit and have to deal with like something hanging over your head. Basically, when's this other shoe going to drop? It's not if you disclose. If you give them that inspection report, like you were talking about last week, there is no other shoe. But if you leave something out because you didn't think it was material, and now this buyer thinks it's material, and it causes an issue, they at least have an argument. Doesn't mean they're going to win, but you're still going to have to deal with it. Do you want to? So to your point, I can understand, it's tough. The longer you live in a home, the more things, you notice and have seen. You see these bubbles, but you don't know what originated them. I'd still put it on there. If it's me, I'd still say, hey, take a peek at the ceiling up there. No idea what happened, but maybe you want to check it out. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, now you've put it in their hands, and if they want to do it, great. If they don't, great. I don't care either way, but it protects you and it leaves that other shoe already dropped.
So this is a conversation I have with a lot of sellers. In a lot of cases, I love to recommend as a seller, go ahead and get your own inspection. Get ahead of these things. Possibly know what's coming your way. But the response I get a lot of times, and I'm not really looking for an answer here, but a lot of response as well. I'd rather, ignorance is bliss. I'd rather not know, because whatever that inspector cites, I've got to disclose it. But as a seller, if I do get this inspection, am I obligated to provide that to a buyer?
It's now all material information,
I mean, the
or it can
inspection
be-
report, I should say.
Same answer. Yeah. And that's why, I might change your tact on that conversation. I don't know. There are obviously benefits to understanding in a more intimate way the condition of your property. I don't have qualms with that, but it's now a disclosure issue that you're going to have to provide to a buyer. Hey, these are the things I know, versus to their point, and to some degree, ignorance is bliss. They know what they know, but they didn't have someone go in and dig into things that they didn't know that now they are aware of. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, and to me, that's a buyer responsibility anyway. They're going to investigate the property that they're purchasing. As a seller, like I'll tell you what I know, but I'm not going to investigate it for you and preemptively start doing things. Like, I mean, I know that people, so there are some sellers who want to do this. And I don't necessarily think I would dissuade them. I just have the conversation. Here's the pros of that. Here's the cons of that.
All right, that's what I really do.
Do as you
Yeah,
wish.
good. I just didn't want to say it in case I was wrong.
That's what you do.
I'm never telling anyone to sell it to get it a home
Well,
inspection.
now I got to like rethink everything you say here about like how truthful you're being, Mike. Holy cow.
And remember, a lot of people out there, Mike, rely on what you're saying.
No, I'm kidding with that too. No, but it's typically something a seller would bring up. Is this an option and so forth? And you do
Should I
have to
do
weigh.
this?
These are the pros and the cons, and whatever that inspector finds, you now are disclosing it, and we are now providing this inspection report for the buyer. Completely up to you whether you want to do that or just roll the dice and see what their inspector has to say.
Flipping the script on that, if you're on the buyer's side and you come into a property where the seller has already had an inspection, provides you the inspection report, and your buyer says, great, I don't need to get an inspection. What's your commentary then?
We're still getting, I highly recommend that we still get our own home inspection. We don't know that inspector. I know my inspector.
Correct. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Keep one thing in the back of everybody's mind too, is when you bought the house, and maybe Mike, we can just play this one out with you, since you said, hey, this was there when I bought it. Was it on your SPDS that you got from the seller? What did the seller say to you on the SPDS that maybe you just didn't care about, so you overlooked it? But now you're going to sell the house. Does that other SPDS, could that be considered the fact that, oh, wait a minute, you do know that, only you failed to disclose it? Now, granted, we never know. But as a listing agent, I would have that conversation with my seller. When you bought this home, I know you didn't realize that, but when you bought this home, did they disclose that to you? Well, gee, I really don't know. I don't remember. And the fact is that more than likely, it probably was, which now, if you don't, could potentially put you in a situation.
Also true.
Just think
all that stuff gets dragged
just
in
think
for
about
sure.
that.
All right. I would love to know how many phone calls a week you get like this. After contract acceptance, agent realizes that they've missed a critical date that could negatively impact their client's position. What is the first thing once an agent realizes that they've missed a date? They got to pick up the phone. Who do they call first? And what does this conversation look like? And I had an agent. This was prior to my West USA days.
Sure.
I had an agent on my team, and Todd, you know him very, very well. And he was on my team. He started just credible, like within 6 weeks, 4 under contract, and 3 out of 4 of them representing buyers missed the Binzer period. And day 11 rolls around. He goes, "Oh man, what do I do? I forgot to send in my Binzer."
Yeah, no big deal.
No big deal.
It's a minor thing. First call you make is to us so that we can have a conversation about where do we go from here. You're right. We get these from time to time. I will say, take a deep breath. Like, the worst does not always happen in these scenarios. We are human. We are not perfect. We are going to make mistakes. It is our profession and our job to understand the contract timelines, to understand all those things, and to counsel our clients through that. That goes without saying. You're not going to hear that from us when you call in, and we're not going to berate you over it. I
get berated all the time.
You come up with different things that probably deserve berating, but the standard conversation is just simply going to be, what is it? Okay, where do we go from here? I mean, it depends on what the timeline was. A big one is appraisal timeline, the 5-day window. When does that start? We had an appraisal review. Can we now cancel? It's not common, but when these things get to be, the Binzer process is usually pretty understood. 10-day inspection period, 5-day, like that's we're all pretty well aware of that. The 5-day window on the appraisal one kind of gets muddy when you're doing an appraisal review. Like, did it start after the review comes in? So we get it often then, but it puts your client's money at risk. But we'll walk you through, like, okay, so if you did miss the appraisal, you have a candid discussion. You have to talk to your client. It's not something we can sweep under the rug. Take accountability. That's accountability in life in general. There's not enough of it. People don't take enough of it. It's always somebody else's fault or issue. If you make a mistake, own up to it, and we'll figure out a direction from here. And sometimes your clients aren't going to understand and be super okay with that. And which is that's to Nick's point. That's a difficult conversation, but you're going to have them.
Don't ask for a Google review at the end.
Probably not. But you can make it right. There are ways. I mean, it depends on what the impact to the client is. If it's a timeline that's missed that costs them or earns money, that's a scary thing for an agent. But oftentimes, like in that scenario, we would just say, okay, have a discussion with your client about if they still want to work with you. A lot of times that relationship is sour, but the one way to make them whole is, I'll go through this with you again. You'll buy a house. I'll credit you whatever you lost. I'll make you whole, and I'll make this. That's a good
way of doing it. That's a good way of doing it.
It's the hard part in that scenario is that the client may have lost faith based on the situation, right? They don't want to work with you anymore, but they also need to understand, like, I'm not going to pull out the money out of my pocket. That's just not how this works either. So anyway, we're getting in the weeds a little bit, but just the overall commentary is, call us. We will walk you through how to best navigate it. Hopefully it ends up being a learning lesson that doesn't cost you the money. I've seen that happen time and time again. So as I said, don't immediately panic thinking that this is the worst thing ever. But if it does, ultimately, if the worst thing does come out of it, we'll get through it and figure it out and, learn the lesson and move on. That's kind of all we can do. Right.
Best advice I can say to anybody is always, whenever something like that pops up, call your broker right away. Because if you try to hide it or weasel your way out of it, so to speak, it's only going to add fuel to the fire if there's a problem. So it's always better to own up. But before you own up to the consumer, own up to your managing broker, your broker, and let them help you make that decision.
Yeah, the brokers hate it when I call them and I'm like, okay, run by me how E&O works, right? That's when we're going down.
When the conversation starts with that, it's going to be a good one.
Actually, I've never. All right, I love this one.
Okay.
All right, whether it's a exclusive buyer broker agreement or whether it's a listing agreement, your client wants to cancel, and it could be for a variety of reasons. And at that point, contractually, they are not in a position to just unilaterally cancel the contract. What do we do? How do we? And I have a lot of thoughts on this, but how from the broker standpoint, obviously, again, it is. Call the broker.
Sure. I'm glad you took it in that direction. I read that question. A client wants to cancel a contract, but they don't have a contractual right to do so as from a buyer's standpoint. I'm glad you brought up the BBA and the listing contract, because those are, employment contracts with our agents. And the biggest comment I would have to that for an agent in a scenario that's having a client want to cancel on them is that your brokerage will support you whatever you decide. So you call in, like, it's always interesting. We'll get a call from an agent who has a seller who wants to cancel. They've gotten some sales pitch from another agent who's going to do everything. It's going to sell immediately, whatever the case may be. The agent wants to know what to do, and they're like, my seller wants to talk to a broker, and they're like, okay, they can call in. Well, we'll receive that call. We'll go through it with them. They're not going to get a different answer. They're not going to get the answer they're looking for. Essentially, the moral of the story is talking to the seller, you're going to have to discuss with your agent, and whatever you guys come up with is going to be the answer. We're not going to impose on our agent that they cancel the listing, that they cancel the BBA, because you two adults entered into this contractual relationship. Yes, it's with West USA, but we're gonna back our agent's decision there, unless something super egregious has happened. But that's very rarely the case. So we'll support them, and then the agent gets to decide. The one thing I would counsel agents, like, from their end of it, is do you want to deal with somebody disgruntled for the next 6 months? You know, I mean, because if you don't give them what they want,
We call that marriage, Kyle.
it's more than 6 months, I hope, but I know what you mean. But yeah, like you have to, because people can get when they're not given what they want, they often get pretty grumpy about it, and they can make your life pretty miserable. So you have to, kind of think to yourself, do I want to deal with the emotional energy I'm going to expend on this person constantly, bringing negative energy into my life for the next X amount of time? So it's up to the agent, though.
All right. So a question, and then I'll
Sure.
tell you how I handle both situations, whether I'm on the listing side or on the buyer side. But
Sure.
the question is in your scenario, the client says, hey, I got sold a bill of goods from another agent. How are we handling that? Because that other agent should be aware that the seller is under a listing agreement
Sure.
with another agent, and now they are soliciting that client. How do we, and I say we, you as a broker team, because I'm not calling that other broker.
Yeah.
I'm putting that on you guys.
Oftentimes you're not going to know who that is. You're not going to hear. They're not going to give a name. The client's not. You can ask them, like, who was it that said this to you, whatever. But oftentimes they're not going to give you that. Also, we don't know who initiated that contact. If the seller reached out to this agent, well, they're allowed to have that conversation. It's not black and white where you have the conversation, it's bad. I mean, it's not good for you as the agent. But if the seller created the conversation, they're more than able to have it with that agent. So to your point, if we know the agent's name and it's given to the our agent, and they give it to us, we'll reach out to the broker and say, hey, this is what happened, but we don't know all the details, of course. Just want to give you a heads up.
All right, so here's how I pretty much handle both sides the same way.
Sure.
And it really just kind of depends on how long I've been working with them and so forth. But they're going to get two options. I will, if the buyer or if the seller wants to buy out of the position with me, we will come up with a number or introduce me to your new listing agent, and I will take a referral fee. And I would do the same thing on the exclusive buyer broker agreement. Say, okay, like, there's a difference if somebody has signed a 6-month BBA with me and now a week in and I haven't showed them a home and they're wanting out, as opposed to now we're 5 months in and I've showed them 50 homes. My attitude is different, and my price it fluctuates.
Yeah. Sure, there's no difference in the document. Like the 1 week in is as binding as the 5 months in. But you're right. Like that's where we would kind of say, like the 1 week in person that wants to walk that you haven't done anything for, do you really want the headache of like forcing them to remain in this when you really haven't? I mean, is it any skin off your back that it's not great, but again, your choice. That's the decision, or that's the conversation we'll have.
But I like taking the cash up front.
I hear you,
because a lot of things can go really awry down the road. Because maybe they fire that other agent. And
then they might even come back. Depending upon the way you handled it.
Correct. They just don't like they never want to hear that they have to pay a fee. Like, I was not told this. It's like, you're right. You said that you would stay in this agreement for 6 months or a year, and you're trying to get out in a month in. Like, that's not okay either.
All right, we got time for one more. This is a good one. This is a conversation I have. Before we ever walk into home number one, when I'm working with a new buyer.
You just answered the question. That's what I was going to say too.
So. Oh, well,
please continue.
All right. So you are showing a home, and notice that there's a camera or a recording device attached to the property. Does that change how you coach your buyers during the showing? And for me, it doesn't change how I coach them. I coach them the same. I just say, you always assume when we walk in, they're listening and they're watching.
Setting expectations, to our earlier point. That's 100% accurate. Just assume that they're going to see what you're doing. They're going to hear what you're saying. So
how do we coach them, though? That's where I want to get into. That's my favorite part.
Oh, then I'd like to hear how you coach them. I don't know how you coach. I mean, you just did, like, you tell them like it's this, I'm not sure about that, and kind of little negative connotations here and there. Is that what you're getting at, or what are reverse psychology?
Well,
Is that what
Todd
we're doing?
go. Todd's got some thoughts.
Yeah. So there's a balance between the law And what really happens? The law says that nobody who isn't part of a conversation can record it or can listen into it if it's not known that they're listening. So the reality is, if somebody's, watching their camera and listening to everything that you say, that's really against the law. But on
if
the
it's
other,
in their own home,
I get that. No, it is.
I'm
It's
asking.
still against the law
Okay.
because you're listening into they're a third party not participating in that conversation. The law is pretty specific when it deals with recordings, at least in the state of Arizona. In Arizona, one party, just one of the two people having the conversation needs to know it's being recorded to be legal. But the consumer, a seller listening to you and your buyer's agent, or a buyer and a buyer's agent, is actually a violation of privacy. So, but we're not going to go down that. That's never really going to happen. Nobody's ever going to really figure that out. So, but that's what the law says. And some people are law hungry and they think, oh, because of this, I'm going, that's just wrong. On the other hand, here's the thing. Counseling your client ahead of time that, oh, by the way, this property, it appears, does have cameras. So don't tell me anything you don't want the seller to know. Mm-hmm. And in other words, that's just one conversation that you've had. Can you prove it later? No. But again, it's by saying that to them, that's letting them know, I have it, write down, or here's a conversation I want to have with you after, write this down, or something along those lines.
Don't jump up and down and say, this is it. We found it.
Yeah,
don't show me anymore.
Exactly.
Exactly. And that's what I tell them. I said, we can always discuss things that are things that we're not a big fan of the house, without being too
ridiculous.
Ridiculous, But hey, you have a problem with the color of the flooring or this and that and that and that. That's fine. But if this house is the one, and I don't want anything coming out of your mouth that's going to give the seller any type of leverage over what we are doing.
Sure.
And I used to say, we'll wait till we get outside. Okay. But I've learned, and I learned
There's
this
also outside.
There's the driveway
not a
can still be hurt.
Right.
It's not, and I got not in trouble once, but
Sure.
I laid up all my cards out.
Right.
And talking about strategy on this particular house and so forth. And,
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's funny. But yeah, it makes total sense for sure.
Yeah, again, to your point, Mike, and anything that would be motivational or something that would tip off the other person. I liked your comment about the negotiation perspective, because that's really what happens. They get a leg up in this, and it's an unfair leg up. Nothing's fair in this world, but it's an unfair leg up. And did we have an opportunity to position our buyer not to fall into that? So that was really a good question.
Yeah.
In fact, actually, I'd like to give you kudos, Mike, because every single one of these questions is a unique but reality situation.
Well, we're going to thank Bob, my AI chat, for these.
Well, thanks, Bob.
Bob did a good job. Yeah, I like.
Now, the other thing with
appreciate the
cameras too
interaction.
is we no longer are in a position to be able to rummage through somebody's refrigerator looking for food because
That
you
would
never.
be just you.
Funny, I was never in that position.
Yeah.
I don't.
I don't recall it.
All right, but thanks, Kyle, for stepping in today.
Anytime.
We leave everybody with a quote of the day. Speaking of the Boys Burger Club, a good agent knows the market. A great agent knows where to find the best burgers, and we're going to have one this Friday. Appreciate everybody joining us. Go out and sell a home.